Hello everyone, welcome back to Newsroom. I'm Chella Smith. This is your Middle East U.S. entertainment news here on YouTube. I air on Friday. I bring you the latest on economics and reforms based on reports put out by the Middle East news media outlets. I do this weekly review and it's based off my interests. Thank you everyone for joining me. Last week we talked about the higher exchange rates, the banking consequences, the 3-year budget change, economic laws, banking procedures, banking reform priorities, and justice for Iraq. Let's take a look at this week's headlines. Tensions are rising in the Middle East. The Sadr's leader, Muqtada al-Sadr, has called on Iraqi government and parliament to vote on the resolution to close the U.S. embassy in Iraq to support the Palestinians. He emphasizes the need to protest diplomatic and avoid militias threatening the Iraq security. If the government and parliament do not respond, Sadr has said that he plans to announce another position. He urges supporters to commit to obedience and avoid using weapons. Israeli military has hired U.S. experts, including former Navy Special Operations Command Commander James Glynn, to assist in planning an imminent ground attack on the Gaza Strip. The U.S. military aims to prevent Israel from fighting in urban areas similar to Iraq's war. They suggest using precision airstrikes and target special operations raids instead of launching a large-scale ground offensive, which could risk hostages and civilians. The U.S. military relies on strategies from the 2004 Fallujah battle. And the Pentagon has carried out precision self-defense strikes against 2 facilities in eastern Syria used by Iran's Revolutionary Guard and its supporters in response to a series of attacks on U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria. The strikes took place near Abdul Kamel and Syrian town on the Iraq border using 2 F-16 fighter jets. The Pentagon announced that the U.S. forces and international coalition to combat terrorism in Syria and Iraq have been subjected to at least 16 attacks since October, accusing Iranian-backed militia of being behind these attacks. The last attack occurred in the Kurdistan region in Iraq, causing minor damages without causing any human loss. And don't forget to subscribe so you're never left behind. Iraqi's Prime Minister Fidi al-Samiri has announced plans to introduce a new banking service for small traders aimed at reducing the exchange rate and facilitating their work procedures. The government has reassured citizens that the dollar is provided through official platforms, providing spectators from profiting at the expense of citizens. The government has also provided food baskets for citizens and social welfare for 10 and 12 months, ensuring living issues are not affected by the dollar rise. The government is working on strategic plans to implement 190 basis and strategic projects in Baghdad, aiming to improve the value and quality of these projects. The government is working on a 3-year budget, which will resolve the delay problems and launch budget allocations. The Prime Minister is also making efforts to communicate constructively with regional leaders and the head of state to militants escalation in the region. Again, the goal here is to see reforms completed. Will Iraq government be able to pull this off? Drop those comments in the comment section below. And Japan has canceled businessmen's visit to Iraq due to regional issues, requesting stability for sustainable development and ensuring the country's stability, according to its ambassador to Iraq. And speaking about the business in Iraq, Iraq's Ministry of Oil has announced finalized oil exports for the month of September, according to Iraqi Business Report. Iraq's Ministry of Oil reported 103,143,199 barrels of crude oil exports in the month of September, with revenues of $9,422 billion, the highest records since August 22. Oil fields in the central and southern Iraq contribute to these exports. The central bank governor, Ali Mohsen Al-Alak, met with representatives from the central bank and electronic payment companies to discuss strengthening the project of point-of-sale devices and digital transformations in Iraq. The meeting addressed challenges in device development, the importance of geographical coverage, and resolutions of problems related to bank card use and fund settlement. Al-Alaq emphasizes the need for marketing plans to support digital finance and financial inclusion in Iraq. I want to let you know that there are ATMs everywhere in Iraq due to its cash-only purchases. Most common max amount for withdrawals with these ATMs is about 200K IQD, which equals to about 152 USD, with an exchange according to the CBI's website at 1310 per million IQD per 100 USD. According to our sources, there are limited to no card readers in Iraq. Iraq remains cash only in hospitals, medical facilities, and restaurants. Restaurants are still taking USD. Iraq's oil minister Hayyan Abdul Ghani has announced an investment project for Noor bin Umar's gas field in Basra Province. The project will be approved by the Ministerial Energy Council and Cabinet, with harness 300 million cubic feet per day of gas resources. The project will be executed in 2 phases, with 150 MMCF dedicated to raw gas and 150 MMCF for sour gas. The project will establish gas gathering stations, processing units, pipeline network, reservoir power generation stations, and export platforms. The dollar exchange rate experienced a decline in Baghdad and Erbil due to the closure of the Al Khaifa and Al Hirthia stock exchange. In Baghdad, the selling price was 162,000 Iraqi dinars for every $100, while in Erbil, it was 160,500 dinars for every $100. Keep in mind these prices differ from the CBI's rate. Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani has highlighted the reasons behind the rise in the U.S. dollar exchange rate against the Iraqi dinar. He acknowledged that the need for legal sanctions against currency speculators, but emphasizes the presence of private banks and money changers who aim to maintain higher dollar prices. Al-Sudani also highlighted the need for stabilized prices for food and construction materials to force traders and speculators to reduce the dollar prices. The development fund and project aims at providing investment opportunities for the private sector, has been voted on, and aims to build nearly thousands of schools. The government has also approved the adoption of modern electronic systems to measure electricity consumption wages, aiming to prevent waste and provide energy stability. The system will be under the supervision of major companies and will address any imbalance or consumption wages. Al-Sudani also announces that the House of Representatives will host a decision on achievements and failures made since the formation of the Iraqi government sometime today. The World Bank president warns that the Israeli-Palestine conflict significantly could impact global economic development. The Gaza Strip has been subjected to the Israeli bombardment since the Hamas launched operations. The Israeli bombings resulted in 18,000 wounded, with over 1,400 killed. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights calls for the humanitarian truce, while the World Health Organization expresses concerns for the health of civilians in the Gaza Strip. The war is threatening the food supply in the Middle East and around the world, with Turkey coming in first at 2.26%, Iran 1.7%, and Iraqi third at 0.39% with food productions in wheat. The report examines 12 countries, which together account for about 95% of the Middle East wheat productions. Overall, wheat crops areas grew steadily until 1970s, but they remained stable since. Yield has increased sharply in the recent years. There has been marked differences between countries. Wheat and flour imports has risen sharply from the late 1960s in many countries, estimating our futures population, wheat production, and wheat needed in 2020 shows an import requirements of around 66 million tons, more than half of today's total world export markets. The Euphrates River, the Tigris River systems are beautiful and are about 12,000 years old and provide sources to our farmers. And 2 days ago, the rice farmers in Sumelia, Providence, are working hard to harvest this year's bumper crop, which has yielded a bumper harvest after a rainy winter. The harvest season usually begins in mid-October and involves plowing and sowing seeds in April and October. The farmers, who grow mostly yellow, red, and green rice, are dealing with the bumper harvest. The amount of agriculture land dedicated to rice productions in the province has increased significantly in the years, with an expected production of 360 to 400 tons this year alone. The price per kilogram varies depending on the type and location of the rice. Special Representative of the United Nations Secretary General for Iraq, Janine Plasheret, has emphasized the importance of peace and working together for humanity's good. She highlighted the UN's unique role in ending violence and resolving conflict while mitigating its negative impact on civilians. The UN serves people from all sectors of society, working with national institutions and civil societies to achieve aspirations for all. Iraq, a founding member of the UN, has long contributed to its work promoting peace, justice, and sustainable development. And you've been watching Newsroom Weekly Review. I'm Chella Smith with your Middle East, U.S. entertainment news on reforms and economics of Iraq. I bring you the latest Dinar news without having to keep up with all the different outlets. I'm here on YouTube every Friday, and we're on Patreon daily, so don't forget to subscribe and turn those notification bells on. If you like my content, you can give me a thumbs up. If you really like my content, you can always seed a super chat or a super thanks in the comment section below. Again, thank you for being a subscriber, and thank you for visiting Newsroom Chella Smith for your trusted Dinar news. I'll see you guys next week. Take care. Make sure you join us Fridays, 4 p.m. with Newsroom Updates with Chella Smith Entertainment News.